perfectly timed. Two-wing strike.
Join Top Tennis Player Weekly Workout Plan now. Get Monday to Sunday Carlos Alcaraz workouts, plus his daily diet plan. Start today. Link below.
The first moments are about waking everything up, not rushing into speed but building toward it. You can see him loosening his shoulders, rotating through his arms, and activating his legs with small, precise movements. There's a rhythm to it, almost like he's syncing his body with the slower, heavier nature of the clay surface. His muscles begin to engage gradually, not forced, but switched on with purpose. The focus is on feeling every part of his body responding, especially through his core and legs, which are essential for movement on clay. As he continues, his breathing deepens and becomes more consistent, helping his heart rate rise steadily. It's not just about getting warm, it's about reaching that state where his body is ready to react without hesitation. At the same time, he starts to connect with the court itself. Clay is different. It demands respect and awareness. He takes a few light steps, testing the surface under his shoes, adjusting to how it grips and slides. There's a subtle shift in how he positions his feet, slightly lower, more balanced, preparing for the longer rallies and the need for controlled movement. His body language shows that he's not just warming up physically, but mentally adapting to what the surface. As the intensity builds, his movements become sharper. The arms move with more speed, the legs push a bit harder, and the coordination between upper and lower body starts to click. His heart is now fully engaged, pumping faster, delivering energy where it's needed. There's a noticeable change in his posture as well, more alert, more ready, like he's stepping into competition mode without actually playing a point yet. During the intensity of the clay season, Carlos Alcaraz sharpens every detail of his game, not just through rallies and match play, but through highly specific warm-up routines that target the mechanics behind his explosive style. One of the most intriguing elements of his preparation is a drill where he places a ball between his legs while hitting. At first glance, it looks unusual, almost restrictive, but in reality, it is a deeply intentional method designed to refine movement efficiency, balance, and power generation from the ground up. This warm-up forces a unique constraint on his body. By squeezing the ball between his thighs, his hips become more controlled and less free to compensate during the stroke. That restriction is exact. It isolates the upper body and teaches him how to generate power through coiling and uncoiling of the torso, rather than relying too much on lower body sway. In high-level tennis, the separation between the hips and shoulders is a defining factor in producing effortless racket head speed. And this drill exaggerates that separation. Without the ability to open the hips early or excessively, he must rotate his shoulders more efficiently, building a cleaner and more repeatable kinetic chain. At the same time, the lower body is far from passive. Holding the ball in place requires constant engagement of the adductors and glutes, muscles that are essential for stability on clay. These inner thigh muscles act as stabilizers, especially during sliding and recovery steps, which are critical on a surface where balance is constantly challenged. By activating these muscles during a hitting drill, he is essentially layering strength and technique together. The result is a more grounded base, allowing him to strike the ball with greater control and weight, something that defines his heavy topspin shots. Balance becomes another key component of this exercise. Moving while maintaining pressure on the ball forces precision in footwork. There is no room for careless steps or unnecessary movement. Each adjustment has to be deliberate, which naturally sharpens coordination on clay. Where small positioning errors can lead to mistimed shots, this level of control becomes a major advantage. The drill teaches his body to stay centered and stable even in motion, reinforcing habits that carry directly into match situations. The emphasis on rotational power is also central, since he cannot rely on a wide base or exaggerated leg drive to generate force. The responsibility shifts to the core. His trunk muscles must work harder to initiate and control rotation, which strengthens the. Over time, this leads to more efficient energy transfer when the restriction is removed. One of the most effective tools in his routine is the toning ball throw, performed in a motion that closely mimics the serve. It looks simple, a weighted ball, a fluid-throwing action, and repetition. But underneath that simplicity is a detailed process aimed at improving timing, coordination, and muscular efficiency throughout the entire kinetic chain. The serve is one of the most complex movements in tennis. It begins from the ground, travels through the legs and core, and finishes explosively through the arm. The toning ball drill reinforces that sequence. As he loads into the motion, his legs initiate the drive, his core stabilizes and rotates, and then his upper body takes over. The deltoid muscle plays a key role in lifting and positioning the arm, while the triceps extends the elbow, but these muscles don't work in isolation. The real goal is synchronization, ensuring that each segment of the body activates at the right moment, so energy flows smoothly and efficiently into the throw. By using a weighted ball, Alcaraz increases resistance slightly, forcing his muscles to engage more deliberately. This helps build strength in the shoulder complex while also improving control. Unlike traditional strength training, it teaches the body not just to be strong, but to be strong in the exact pattern required for a powerful and consistent serve. Over time, this leads to better racket head speed and reduced strain because the workload is distributed properly across the body rather than overloading a single joint. Another important benefit is rhythm. The serve is as much about timing as it is about power. If one part of the chain, the toning ball throw, exaggerates the feeling of a smooth, connected sequence. With repetition, his body learns the correct tempo, how the legs, torso, shoulder, and arm blend into one continuous action. This rhythm becomes automatic, which is crucial under pressure when there is no time to think. Alcaraz is also very clear about one key principle: you should never serve without properly warming up the muscles involved. The shoulder and forearm are particularly vulnerable areas, especially given the speed and repetition required in modern tennis. The toning ball drill acts as both a warm-up and a strengthening exercise. It gradually prepares the deltoids, triceps, and forearm muscles for the demands of serving, increasing blood flow and mobility while reducing the risk of injury. This preparation is even more important on clay, where longer rallies mean players rely heavily on their serve to gain an advantage. A key part of this preparation is horizontal movement across the baseline. On clay, lateral control defines everything. Alcaraz slides, adjusts his steps, and constantly fine-tunes his positioning to reach the ideal contact point. These aren't random movements. Each step is calculated. Sliding into position teaches him how to decelerate under control, maintain balance, and transition smoothly. Clay demands precision in footwork, and by rehearsing these side-to-side movements, he sharpens his ability to stay stable, even when pushed wide. What makes this phase even more effective is the addition of shadow boxing. Without a ball, he simulates the full execution of his strokes, forehands, backhands, and recovery steps. This allows him to focus purely on mechanics and timing. There is no distraction, no reaction to an incoming ball, just a clear emphasis on how the body should move, the racket path, the rotation of the torso, and the positioning of the feet all come together in a controlled environment. Over time, these rehearsed movements become automatic, reducing hesitation during actual rallies. Vertical movement is another critical layer of his warm-up. Moving forward toward the net requires a completely different type of control compared to baseline play. Alcaraz practices. One detail stands out. He avoids touching the net at all costs. This forces him to maintain balance and body awareness even at full speed. It's a small constraint, but it reinforces discipline in movement and ensures that every approach is clean and efficient. Again, shadow simulation plays a role here. As he moves forward, he mimics volleys and finishing shots, visualizing real match scenarios. This mental engagement is just as important as the physical aspect. By imagining specific situations, approaching after a deep shot, closing in for a volley, he activates the decision, making pathways in his brain. It's not just about moving well, it's about knowing when and how to execute under pressure. Running and sliding are constantly integrated into both horizontal and vertical drills. The repeated transitions between movement directions challenge his coordination and endurance while reinforcing proper technique. Each slide, each adjustment step, builds familiarity with the surface on clay, where footing can be unpredictable. This familiarity becomes a major advantage. At its core, this entire routine is about activating muscle memory and neural pathways. Before any ball training begins, Alcaraz has already played multiple points in his mind and body. His muscles remember the patterns, and his brain, using resistance bands anchored and controlled by his physical trainer, he performs a drill that looks simple on the surface, but is deeply connected to how he generates pace on both his forehand and serve. The band creates constant tension, forcing his body to work against resistance as he rotates, builds coil, and then releases that stored energy. This exercise is centered on the concept of, in elite tennis, power doesn't come from swinging harder, it comes from sequencing the body correctly. As Alcaraz pulls against the band, his hips remain relatively stable, while his shoulders rotate further back. This creates a stretch across the core, often referred to as separation between the hips and shoulders. That separation is where elastic energy is stored. When he unwinds, that stored energy is released explosively, transferring force from the ground up through the torso and into the arm. The resistance band exaggerates this process because it is pulling him back. He must actively engage his core muscles, especially the obliques and deeper stabilizers, to control the movement. This builds not just strength, but coordination. His body learns how to resist, hold, and then release rotation at the right moment. Over time, this improves the efficiency of his kinetic chain, ensuring that every part of his body contributes to the shot in a smooth and connected sequence. Another key benefit of this drill is that it reinforces controlled movement rather than brute force on clay, where rallies are longer and points are constructed with patience. Efficiency is everything. Alcaraz cannot afford to rely on raw power alone. Instead, he needs to generate heavy, penetrating shots without overexerting himself. This is where kinetic chain training becomes essential. By improving how energy flows through his body, he can produce explosive pace with less physical strain. The role of the trainer is also important here. By holding and adjusting the resistance band, the trainer can vary the intensity and direction of the force. This unpredictability challenges Alcaraz to stay balanced and maintain proper form under tension. It simulates the dynamic demands of a real rally, where he must generate power, even when slightly off balance or under pressure. Each repetition becomes a test of control, timing, and stability. This type of training also helps him avoid unnecessary muscle bulk. In tennis, especially on clay, speed and agility are just as important as strength. Adding excessive mass can slow down movement and reduce endurance. Resistance band work, however, develops functional strength that is directly applicable to movement, and it enhances the muscles involved in rotation without compromising flexibility or quickness.